In this video, I'm going to show you every single step on doing Nepheli Loux's questline. So this is going to start roughly from the beginning of the game, right at Stormveil Castle, as you can see behind us. You'll have to progress from the first step in Limgrave all the way to Stormveil Castle and at least make it to the Stormveil main gate, where you'll find Gatekeeper Gostoc. That's when you actually get to the first gate and you go into the door on the left over here and you'll find Gostoc over here, the one who talks to you, and you're going to speak to him and use all of his dialogue options. You're going to use the option that allows you to take the shortcut around the left side of the castle. You're going to want to progress until you get into the open courtyard like this, if you remember this place. Otherwise, you're going to start at the left side chamber, Site of Grace. This is where we're going to go ahead and meet Nepheli Loux for the first time. So as you progress out this door to the east, you're going to make your way past all these eagles and these things that are going to attack you up the stairs. As it gets to the point where you see the giant and the two enemies on the stairs, you're actually going to turn around and you'll see there's an entrance that you might have missed. If not, it's right in here. So go down the stairs and you'll find Nepheli Loux for the first time talking to a person who died, I guess. Keep speaking to her so that you get all of her dialogue options, and then she'll also be available to summon just before your fight with Godric the Grafted. Just before Godric the Grafted, you will find her summoning sign right over here. Now, it doesn't really matter if you use it or not, but it is nice to have an extra help if you want it. Go ahead and defeat Godric the Grafted, and then you're going to immediately sit at the Site of Grace so that it updates the game and it puts Gostoc just in front of you. So rest at the Site of Grace. You'll see Gostoc is now in front of there. He's basically just stomping on Godric's head. And now you're going to go ahead and you're going to speak to him. You'll be able to purchase from him at this point, and yeah, we're basically ready to proceed. The next step is to go to Roundtable Hold at the bottom left of the map here. You're going to fast travel to this location. And if you haven't already, you will need to speak to Gideon, who is located over here, facing towards the south. Go ahead and speak to him and use all of his dialogue options. You will have to speak to him multiple times to make sure you get everything. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and go up to the table, rest at the Site of Grace. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to leave, and you'll see Gideon will no longer be standing here. And now we're actually going to be heading towards the northeast. So if you look at the Roundtable Hold, you're going to be going down this pathway over here to the northeast. It looks like this, and you'll see Nepheli Loux will be standing on the right-hand side over here by all these books. Go ahead and speak to her. She's then going to give you the Arsenal Charm Talisman. The Arsenal Charm Talisman raises your equipment load so that you can carry more stuff. Make sure you go ahead and finish all of her dialogue options by speaking to her multiple times until she repeats the same lines. You'll now need to progress into Liurnia of the Lakes, because this is where the next location is. It's going to be at the village of the Albinaurics. So if I zoom in here, right after leaving Godric the Grafted's Stormveil Castle, you're going to go ahead and you're going to follow the water and you're going to stick to the left the entire way until you get under these rocks, which is actually like under this cliff. There is a village located roughly around over here where I'm aiming right now. So you're going to make your way in the swamp area just under these cliffs to here. This is what it's going to look like when you go under the cliff. It's basically running through the swamp, sticking to the left wall as you run through here, and you're just basically going to follow it into the village location. You actually can't get lost if you just follow the wall on the left. You'll know you're in the right place when you see those structures above you over there with all the hanging bodies and the bridge and more hanging bodies. This is the right place. We're actually going under the bridge that's right above me right there in the distance. So you're going to run up here just like this. You'll see it will say the village of the Albinaurics, and we're going to go ahead and get underneath here. You will see Nepheli is practically waiting for you at this location. So you can go ahead and speak to her right here. Keep speaking to her until she uses all of her dialogue options, and then we're going to proceed to a little bit of a boss fight. So the boss you need to fight is actually on this bridge right above you, towards that direction, towards the northeast, right over there. You can actually see the way she's facing. That's where the boss is going to spawn. But first, go ahead and collect the Site of Grace above here so that you can, reset it like this. After you collect the Site of Grace, we're going to proceed across the bridge to do the fight. You will see the NPC standing over there in the distance, and go ahead and beat them. Once you defeat this enemy, you will get the Crucible Knot Talisman. This is going to reduce the damage and impacts of headshots. After beating the Omen Killer boss, we're going to go to the Roundtable Hold, and we're going to find Nepheli over there. From this location, you're going to head directly east. So you're going to go ahead through this way over here, pretty much where you find the blacksmith dude right over here hammering away. You're going to go down the stairs that's in the pathway next to him over here, just like this. And down the stairs immediately on your left, you should see Nepheli on the floor, and you're going to go ahead and speak to her using all of her dialogue options. Now, since Nepheli's not talking to you, you will have to return to the Site of Grace. You will have to have made sure that you have at least spoken to the two fingers over here, the two fingers the lady on the left, you'll have to speak to her until she completes her dialogue. And then when you rest at the Site of Grace, you should see that when we go down the northeastern passage, this one over here, this door will now be open if it wasn't open for you already. And you'll find Gideon inside who you'll speak to. And if you use his options here, right at the end, you'll find Nepheli's Despair as an option. Go ahead and speak to him about Nepheli's Despair. You'll then return to Roundtable Hold and you will go to Roderika. If you haven't found her yet, you can actually find her for the first time in Limgrave. If I just zoom in over here, you'll find her at the Stormhill Shack. So you'll find her in one of these shacks, one of these buildings over here, speak to her for the first time, and she'll actually teleport to the Roundtable Hold when you rest at the Site of Grace. Now, once you are here at the Site of Grace, you're going to go ahead and you're going to speak to her. She's going to introduce herself, basically, and all the stuff. You're then going to take the pathway to the left of her, and you're going to go to the blacksmith, and you're going to speak to the blacksmith. You're then going to use the option to talk about Roderika in his options here, so go ahead and speak about her. Once you've done that and you've spoken to him about his dialogue, you're going to return to Roderika, and you'll speak to her, and you can tell her what the blacksmith said. And then you're going to return to the blacksmith, and you'll speak about Roderika again, and this is the final one, and you'd ask him, would he watch over her? And he's gonna be like, yeah, sure, dude, I'm gonna do that. And then you just need to rest at the Site of Grace, so just rest at a table. And then when you return to this room, you should see Roderika sitting on the left-hand side opposite the blacksmith over here. Once you have her here, this is perfect. You just need her there for progressing the rest of this quest. We're now going to go to Liurnia of the Lakes, and right over here to the left of the academy, we're going to actually progress up the left-hand side. You're going to get up here, and you're going to go to the 4 belfries. This location right over here, you can see you can access it from the road, just going like this and up into, you know, the location here. Now make your way to the Site of Grace, and you'll see from the Site of Grace, the building right next to you actually has a chest that has an imbued key. Now if you go ahead and you open up the chest that is over here, you will see that we'll get an imbued sword key. Now, this thing is used once you use it, and there are 3 possible places to use it here. You can find an additional 2 throughout the game, so don't worry about being locked out of anything. But for this first one, we're going to use it for this one right in front of us, the one that is on the east. So this belfry right here at this location, this is the one we're going to open. Go ahead and use the key on this, and you'll see the teleporter will become active. And this will teleport us to the beginning of the game. Our main goal at the Chapel of Anticipation is to get to the first, location where we started. You will see there is a boss fight here for that grafted scion that we encounter at the very beginning of the game. You will have to defeat this boss in order to continue. Once the boss is defeated, you'll see the pathway will open up, moving on to the Chapel of Anticipation right over there. Go ahead and make your way to the entrance of the chapel. You'll see here at the entrance of the chapel, there is a doorway to the right, which was locked at the very beginning of the game. It is now open, and you're able to get 2 Ashes of War, or actually Ashes Spirits, I think. Right over here, the first one is called the Stormhawk King. And then inside, immediately to the right, there is a chest that you can go ahead and open. And this is going to give you the Stormhawk Dean. We're now going to fast travel back to the Roundtable Hold. Now from the Roundtable Hold, you're going to go ahead and you're going to walk down the southeastern pathway, the one where the blacksmith and Roderika was. So we're going to go here, past the blacksmith, we're going to go down the stairs again. You should find at the bottom of the stairs, we should find Nepheli on the left over here, still where we left her and found her in the previous place, and go ahead and speak to her. It will say, I heard from Gideon, and you can use this dialogue option. Finish speaking to her a couple of times until you get the option to give her the Stormhawk King. Now we're going to have to progress another quest for a little bit at Fort Haight. So in this location in Limgrave, you're going to make your way to this structure right over here. As you can see on the screen, you're going to jump up on there. This is what it looks like from here, and you can already see an NPC standing at the top there. He's the moron yelling, is anybody out there? Go ahead and speak to him and use all of his dialogue options. So from Kenneth Haight over here, where you first found him, we're going to actually progress down a little bit to the south and the east to Fort Haight, which is located right over here, where you'll have to defeat a boss. You will have to progress to the top of Fort Haight, where you find this enemy over here. Once you've defeated this enemy, that's all you actually had to do. But before you leave, go up the tower over here to go get the Grand Lift of Dectus Medallion. And that's where you can get the left half of the Dectus Medallion. But we're going to go ahead and make our way back to Kenneth Haight over here. So go ahead and use the fast travel point and make your way there. And then speak to Kenneth. He'll then give you the Erd Steel Dagger as a reward. Then speak to him. He will tell you he's heading to the fort, and you go ahead through all of his dialogue options until he repeats the same stuff. He'll ask you if you want to pledge your services. You can go ahead and pledge them. Yes. And then we're going to go back to Fort Haight. So go all the way back down there to the Site of Grace and make your way to Fort Haight. If you defeat the enemies at Fort Haight and you make your way to where the boss was previously, you'll see Kenneth is now standing here instead. Go ahead and speak to him. Go ahead and use all of his dialogue options until he repeats the same stuff over and over. In order to get the other half of the medallion, you're going to have to go to the Third Church of Marika, right over here in Limgrave, and then you're going to go into the water to the northeast, right over here. You'll see there is a teleporter in this location right over here that is going to take you to the northeast of Caelid. It's going to spawn you outside the Bestial Sanctum over here, and you're just going to progress down this pathway, across the bridge. You don't have to fight anything. Just skip along here, run across the road until you can get up this road, past here, up until Fort Faroth. You don't have to fight anything, you can run past everything, and inside this fort, you just make your way to the top, and you can pick up the other half of the Dectus Medallion. Now for the next step, you're going to have to play the game quite a lot, because you need to progress to the Elden Throne in the capital of Leyndell. So right over here, you need to progress from the Grand Lift of Dectus to the capital. In order to get into the capital, you will have to go from this location over here, and you will have to have beat 2 Shardbearers within the game. That is Godric the Grafted, Renala, Rykard, or even Radon. You just have to have defeated any 2 of those and you'll be granted access into the capital, which you will eventually lead your way into the Elden Throne, where you will have to beat this boss. So let's go ahead and beat the Throne Lord. If you are struggling to figure out how to get to this location, there is a video that I made on how to beat every single boss in order to become the Elden Lord. This is basically halfway through that, and you can follow that on the exact pathing you need to take to reach this point. That's linked in the description down below. Now, if you've done every single thing in this video and you haven't progressed far enough to actually, you know, defeat the giants or the fire giants or set the giant tree on fire, you should still be able to do this next thing. So be careful of like killing the Gideon boss in this game. If you've done that, you might have locked yourself out. At this point, we're going to go ahead and find all 3 main characters, Nepheli, Kenneth, and Gostoc, and we're going to find them at Godric the Grafted. But for some reason, you actually have to go to the lake-facing cliffs, Side of Grace, the one that you see just before you go into the, Lake of Liurnia. So this one over here, it's the very next one right after Godric the Grafted. You're going to have to fast travel to this location. Then you actually have to physically rest at this Site of Grace. You have to physically rest. I know it's a bit weird, but you just have to do that, and then you have to go to the Godric the Grafted Side of Grace, and that will have forced Gostoc to stop pounding the head of, Godric the Grafted over here on the floor, and now you'll find them all in the throne room to the northwest. So right after you defeated Godric the Grafted, this room over here, which had opened up previously, you'll find Nepheli over here, you'll find Kenneth over there, and you'll find Gostoc in the corner there. Go ahead and speak to Nepheli, and she will give you an ancient dragon smithing stone. That is a very nice reward for not having to progress that far in the game. Then you can also go ahead and speak to Kenneth and get more emphasis on what he has to say. And then there's also Gostoc over here. If you didn't kill him early on, he'll be over here. And he should still have his shop where you can purchase another ancient dragon smithing stone. So yeah, don't kill him at the beginning of the game. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching.